All right, ladies and gentlemen, reportedly, our good friends, the Saudis, are threatening to sell billions of dollars in U.S. assets if Congress passes a bill that would allow 9/11 victims to sue foreign governments. Gee, I wonder why. Joining us now is Andy McCarthy, our friend, contributing editor for National Review, former federal prosecutor, and author of Faithless Execution. Hello, Andy.
Steve, how are you?
I am doing very, very well, and I turned to you on this. You wrote a great piece, Willful, Blindness, Our Saudi Friends. Of course, Willful, Blindness, the name of one of your great books. And you discussed all that and more about the Saudis in that book. So what is Saudi Arabia afraid of here if Congress goes ahead and passes that law?
Well, they're obviously afraid of what's in those 28 pages, which there's a very high probability that they make a compelling case of Saudi complicity in the 9/11 attacks. We've known this for years, Steve. They've actually tried to keep this suppressed for 14 years.
These are 28 pages that have never been made public out of the 9/11 report. Yeah.
Yeah, and let's make sure that we understand, that the listeners understand, we're not rumor mongering here. Bob Graham, the former senator from Florida, who was co-chairman of the committee, is our best source for what's in this 28 pages, which he's been trying to get unsealed for years.
Yeah, and he has indicated that that the Saudis would have something to fear. What could the repercussion? Now, Obama doesn't want this law passed. He doesn't want this to happen. Why not? I mean, what's the upside of keeping this secret further? I mean, are we going to find out that the Saudis trained and financed and sent these people here? And if the government knows that, then how on earth could we have any relationship with Saudi Arabia?
Well, that's exactly the thing, Steve. I think we have decided as a country, or at least our government has decided as a government, that the Saudi regime is our friend, and that, basically this all goes back to, Islam has nothing to do with terrorism committed by Muslims. So let's not look at the ideological fueling of terrorism. Let's pretend that it's just, disconnected, random, brutal acts toward, no good end or for no purpose. And therefore, we don't have to look at the government that's the chief propagator of the ideology. And here we take it another step, where there's abundant evidence that we already know about without even seeing the 28 pages of Saudi government officials and intelligence agents actually contributing to the activities of the 9/11 hijackers.
And you wrote that in the Grand Jihad, your book, The Grand Jihad. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. This information's been out there for a long time. A lot of it actually is in the 9/11 Commission report. We're now talking instead about the congressional investigation, but there's even more information that wasn't made available to the 9/11 Commission. And I think the thing that they've been telling us all these years is, look, maybe some Saudi citizens were involved in this, which is not surprising since 15 of the 19 hijackers were Saudis, but let's not confuse a few bad apple citizens with the whole regime over there. And I think what we're going to see here, if we ever get this unsealed, is that it was agents of the regime that helped carry this out.
Yeah, I can't imagine that just citizens on their own in Saudi Arabia, the repressive regime of Saudi Arabia, were able to do it on their own. All right, let me move on to today's oral arguments at the U.S. Supreme Court on Obama's immigration executive order. And it seems like there's a lot of talk that went on about standing. And a lot of concern from Justice Roberts, Chief Justice Roberts, about does Texas have the right as a state to bring this case to the Supreme Court, and do the other states have a right? And also, Congress, Congressman Pompeo joins us later. And Congress, of course, passed this law. Do they have standing? Who has standing here? And how concerned should we be that this court will decide, hey, guess what, Texas and the other states, you don't have standing to bring this in the first place?
Yeah, I believe we should be very concerned about that. I think Texas and any citizen, any state and any citizen who could show that they were harmed by this, and I do think Texas makes a case here for that, should have standing to sue. I agree that the Congress should not have standing to sue because the framers gave Congress better tools to rein in a rogue executive, which is what my book that you were kind enough to mention, Faithless Execution, is about. You know, the thought to the framers, it would have been anathema that the way Congress reigns the president in it is by bringing a lawsuit to federal court.
Well,
but the states, it's a different matter.
We shall see what we shall see, and I hope Justice Roberts does the right thing. Andy, thank you as always, sir. Your call's next, folks. 877 Newsmax. Start dialing.